Good morning, everyone. If I ask you to get settled down, please. And good morning. Welcome to the monthly public meeting for the month of November. For the director's report this morning, we're going to have a brief legislative update. So Mindy, why don't you come on up?
I guess we'll see. Good morning, everyone. As I'm sure most of you know, there's lots of interest in waste issues and recycling issues in the legislature at the moment. There were a total of 56 bills introduced in that area. Ultimately, this year, 7 passed and 6 were signed into law. So just very, very briefly, we can answer questions later if you'd like, but AB 187 was by Cristina Garcia. It affects our mattress EPR program, and it does a couple of things, but one is establish a bridge program for the program should the plan be disapproved and another plan not be in place. So it ensures that that program continues on. AB 729, my Assemblymember Chu, did a similar thing on our carpet program and also established that there will be a differential rate to incentivize more recyclable carpet. AB 815, Aguiar Curry, asked us to look at dual stream recycling systems and the implementation of dual stream recycling systems when we are considering whether a jurisdiction has made a good faith effort under our AB 939 programs. AB 827 is by Assemblymember McCarty, and this bill requires that bins for organic recycling be placed next to recycling bins and trash cans in places like restaurants, although not full-service restaurants. It also asks CalRecycle to develop informational signage and some public outreach to help these businesses comply. It also only applies to those businesses that were already required to do organic services or organic waste services under 1826. AB, most of these are ABs, obviously. AB 1583. Eggman did a couple of things. It extended the sales and use tax, which is not in CalRecycle's jurisdiction, but it extends that program for 5 years. It also extends our RMDZ program through 2031, and it establishes a statewide commission to make a report by January 2021 about what is recyclable in California. And so we can chat to you guys more about that. You're welcome. AB 54 is the last bill that was signed into law. This is a Ting bill, and it provides a couple of things. One, it relieves dealers of some obligations for take-back for certain dealers that were affected by the most recent recycling center closures. It also provides $5 million in funding for the pilot programs, and you may hear more about that later, and I'll just leave that for later, and $5 million for supplemental payments to recycling centers. So that's this year. We have a number of 2-year bills, and I'm sure all of you are fairly aware of those as well. But again, if you have any questions, let me know. Are we taking questions? I usually don't do that. Go ahead.
Evan Edgar, engineer for the California Compost Coalition. One of the 2-year bills is SB 667, waste bill. It was a bill about a 5-year plan for CalRecycle with SB 1383 coming up and $1 billion of investment. That's some of a scoping plan for CalRecycle to look how to invest and incentivize SB 1383 among your other tasks. We were supportive of AB 144 this year, another 5-year scoping plan for all organics, how we integrate forest, urban, and ag waste all together. And both those bills got stalled out due to lack of money to invest in them. The bill report said there wasn't enough resources to fund that activity. With the integrated waste management account growing by over 2.4 million this year because I think we had extra 2 million tons of disposal every year going in the landfill to get $1.40 a ton. So there's a new 2.8 million each and every year. I wonder if we can use those resources next year and in order to fund these studies, in order to have the waste bill be funded and have a 5-year scoping plan for organics and SB 1383 at CalRecycle.
Short answer is no, we can't. The integrated waste management account is actually not in a condition to take on any additional funding. As a matter of fact, we've been absorbing significant additional costs over a period of years. That is a fund that we're gonna have to look in the future to actually figuring out how we're gonna keep it in the above zero, because we're looking at running deficits in that fund. So that fund is not in a position to take on any new expenditures at this time.
So if we use cap and trade dollars, other money from 1383 to do a 5-year plan, that would be something we have to look at other funding sources.
Sure, I mean, other funding sources as appropriate, it is an open conversation.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Great, thanks.
Thank you, Mindy. At this time, I'd like to open the meeting to public comment for any items that are not on the published agenda.
Leonard Lang, President, Upper Room Consulting. This month, I'd like to acknowledge the loss of one of your former associates. Last week, Annis White passed, former auditor with the division. She mentored me on what constitutes proper auditing and how the division failed to meet those standards. I used that information to help get a bill introduced around 1990, which the Department of Conservation opposed, but it would put specifications on auditors and audit managers. She told me once that she'd been instructed by a branch chief to get results that he wanted. Subsequent to that, she was ostracized. To do that, she would have had to violate her own independence. From her insights, though, she went on to help a lot of people. She moved on to auditing distributors, and she made recommendations that were rejected by her superior, the same superior who came to her for answers. I wonder if those recommendations had been imposed, if we'd have saved ourselves a lot of problems with distributor payments that CRI complains about. After retiring, she was a highly qualified witness in hearings for me and another attorney. And she was a devout Christian and was in service to people like me and others. She will be missed. Now, for the past year or so, I've come up here 10 months, and I've expressed my disagreement with the actions of the division, and I have now done this 10 times out of 12 months. To your credit, to the department's credit, I received a response to my issues from last month, and not surprisingly, the response proved my point. Chief Counsel pointed out that some inspections are conducted undercover. To issue a violation at this time would blow the cover, but Section 2000 requires a violation to be issued at the site and then a follow-up letter within 10 days. Now, that's been cause for violations to be thrown out in hearings, so I question whether or not feedback got back to the appropriate levels to understand the problem. By failing to present a violation to the operator, he's at a significant disadvantage to disprove the allegation. Former Assistant Director Jim Ferguson used to call this a gotcha, but he didn't stop it. I might add that it's my belief that if the department is to investigate, it should also adopt regulations pertaining to investigations. Everything seems to be an investigation all the way down to certification. Now, these stealth violations are not presented as accusations to allow adjudication, but they do become a part of the enforcement certification history. Notice of noncompliance, notice of violation, just as if they had been adjudicated. When has the department ever provided a hearing pursuant to Section 2100? We've asked and been refused. Now, I doubt that the chief counsel wrote the letter. I assume it was given to him by the assistant director. In big bureaucracies, whether it's government, business, This is the way it's done. But he did say that this year we would have rulemaking on prepayment controls, and we're already in November. Almost from the beginning of the program, it's been my goal to improve the program and eliminate the judgment and abuse of power. Time is running out. On previous occasions, I said I believe that leadership is getting bad legal advice. This is one more example, and I believe it's a reason to remove the cause of 19 years of bad legal advice by requesting the removal of the assistant director, and I thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Lang. No comment beyond that. Anyone else like to make comments today? Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to jump into consideration of CARES implementation of Chapter 0. Nope, we're not going to. Oh, sorry. We have an information item. Final disposal reporting status. Is Eileen coming up?
Yes.
Oh, there you are.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Eileen Hogue. I represent the Policy Development and Analysis Office, and today I'm pleased to bring you the second quarter and final disposal reporting status for 2019. The last and final due date for disposal reporting was the second quarter of 2019, which was October the 15th. With the initiation of RDRS under AB 901, DRS reporting has come to a close after about 25 years. Future reporting will be under RDRS and will include more valuable data like recycling/composting, hauler, transfer processing reporting, in addition to disposal. Counties that did not submit their second quarter DRS data by the deadline of October the 15th were Alpine, Colusa, Contra Costa, Kings, Madera, Marin, Napa, and Placer counties. The highlighted counties were late reporting for the first quarter and also the second quarter of 2019. Out of the 8 counties who were late, 5 counties, which were Alpine, Contra Costa, Napa, Madera, and Marin, sent their reports to CalRecycle within a week to a week and a half after the due date. 2 counties, Colusa and Placer, sent their report over 2 weeks later than the due date. And then finally, Kings County submitted a completed report with the help of our staff on November the 13th, which was almost a month late. Late notices were sent by certified mail to Colusa, Placer, and Kings County on October the 24th, and that was after being over 2 weeks late. The 2019 revision period for quarters 1 and 2 will be during the month of November, and emails were sent out to all counties. We're asking all counties to please submit any revisions before the close of business on October the 29th, since the 30th is on a Saturday. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the counties who reported on time and by the due dates over the years. I would also like to thank the counties who didn't, because it did enlighten us to some of the probable issues that may arise in late reporting. DRS staff will miss working with many counties, and we appreciate all the counties' efforts during the many reporting periods, and we would just like to say thank you. This concludes the final reporting for 2019 DRS. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Just to be clear, we're moving to a different, if you didn't understand, we're moving to a different reporting framework. The information will still be reported to the department. We're just moving to the RDRS system. So. Okay, now we're going to move to consideration of care. All right, awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. All right, so there are 2 carpet-related items on the agenda today. The first is consideration of CARE's fulfillment of conditions associated with the approval of its 2018 through 2022 California Carpet Stewardship Plan. Staff have prepared a joint presentation to cover both of the stewardship program items on today's agenda. The first item is an informational item, and that's going to be presented by Fareed Farhut, and that is about CARE's 2018 annual report that was submitted on September 1st of this year. Because CARE was operating under an expired plan from 2011 to 2016, or its expired 2011 to 2016 plan, which is allowed by the department, until the department conditionally approved CARE's 2018 through 2022 plan, CalRecycle will not be making a compliance determination regarding the 2018 annual report. So this is just an informational item. However, staff has conducted an analysis of the 2018 annual report and compared metrics that CARE reported this in the previous year, in the 2017 program year. And so staff will summarize that analysis in this presentation. The second item will be presented by Robin Gillum and is a request for approval regarding CARE's Chapter 0 report and the supporting documents that came along with that. So this was September 3rd of 2019, CARE submitted its Chapter 0 report, which describes CARE's efforts associated with fulfilling the requirements of the department's conditional approval of the 2018 through 2022 plan. Staff have evaluated the report and supporting documents and will summarize their conclusion. So now I'd like to ask for Fareed Farhut and Robin Gillum to present these items. And after the presentation, we'll welcome any comments. Thank you, Fareed.
Thank you, Matt. Good morning. My name is Fareed Farhut. I'm a senior environmental scientist at the statewide Technical and Analytical Resources branch here at CalRecycle. I would like to start by going over selected program dates. This slide presents a brief background of major events that preceded today's items. CARE's last fully approved plan ended on December 31st, 2016. On October 16, 2018, CalRecycle conditionally approved CARE's 2018-2022 plan, which was conditioned on CARE fulfilling all conditions listed in staff's request for approval. On December 15th, CARE submitted Chapter 0, which outlined CARE's commitment to fulfill the conditions of plan approval. CalRecycle approved CARE's 2018-2022 plan, including Chapter 0, on February 19, 2019. On September 1st, 2019, CARE submitted its California Carpet Stewardship Program 2018 annual report. And on September 3rd, 2019, CARE submitted its Chapter 0 report and accompanying documents to CalRecycle, which describe CARE's efforts to meet the requirements of CalRecycle's October 2018 RFA. In this informational item regarding CARE's 2018 annual report, I will compare selected program matrices from 2017 and 2018. As Matt mentioned, we are not making a compliance determination because CARE was operating under an expired 2011-2016 plan, and the department, until the department conditionally approved CARE's 2018-2022 plan in October of 2018. Staff conducted an analysis of CARE's 2018 annual report and compared selected matrices that CARE reported in 2018 against the same matrices that CARE reported in 2017, and they are summarized in this table, and I will talk about just a few of them. CARE defines recycling rate as proportion of carpet discards converted into recycle output, and recycle output is considered as the sum of reused and materials that results from industry-recognized processes such as shredding, shearing, hammer milling, depolymerization, etc., of post-consumer carpet by a processor. The recycling rate for 2017 was 14% compared to 15.3% in 2018. Excuse me. CARE-supported drop-off sites, also known as public drop-off sites, are generally placed at traditional disposal locations such as transfer stations, landfills, material recovery facilities, or construction and demolition recovery facilities. In 2018, there were 53 CARE-supported drop-off sites serving 47 counties, compared to 44 CARE drop-off sites serving 41 counties in 2017. There were 11 counties in 2018 that did not have public drop-off sites. CARE expanded its education and outreach efforts and funding in 2018, taking a number of actions to increase education and outreach, which included promotional materials to California retailers and participating public drop-off sites, engaging with installers through in-person outreach and informational videos, tabling at various conferences and events, and working with Cascadia to conduct a convenient collection study. The budget for outreach and education was increased from $785,000 to $1.3 million in 2018, an increase of 66%. The different methods used to recover energy under this program are carpet as an alternative fuel, or CAF, cement kiln, and waste to energy, or WTE. In 2018, no post-consumer carpet was used for CAF or cement kiln. 1.8 million pounds of post-consumer carpet was used for waste to energy compared to 9.8 million pounds in 2017, a reduction of 82%. CARE discontinued all subsidies for CAF and cement kiln effective January 1st of 2018, and has never subsidized waste to energy. Waste to energy is not counted as a recycling output. This graph shows a recycling rate since the start of the program. CARE's program had an initial recycling rate of 6.5%, and as of 2018, it is at 15.3%. CARE reported in its second quarter of 2019 that it had reached a recycling rate of 18.4%. As a reminder, a recycling rate of 24% by January 1st, 2020 is mandated by statute. Before I turn over the presentation to my colleague Robin Gillum, I would like to reiterate that we are not making a compliance determination because CARE was operating under its expired 2011-2016 plan for most of 2018. Thank you. Robin?
All right, so in this part of the presentation, I will go through the factors that went into staff's recommendation regarding CARE's Chapter 0 implementation, including our analysis of CARE's Chapter 0 report and stakeholder comments. After that, I will talk about the options we are presenting to the director and our proposed next steps. Before I start, I would like to remind you that CARE's 2018 through 2022 plan was approved in February of this year, and this request for approval evaluates CARE's implementation of Chapter 0 of its plan. While CARE demonstrated that it made an effort to complete the requirements of the department's October 16, 2018 request for approval, CARE did not fully implement Chapter 0 of its approved plan. Staff have provided a thorough review of CARE's Chapter 0 report and the supporting documents in today's request for approval, which can be found on the public notice. But for the sake of time, I will highlight some of the incomplete requirements. CARE submitted a cost analysis that failed to provide crucial information requested by the department, including demonstration that the funding mechanism is sufficient for CARE to meet statutory and programmatic goals. Additionally, CARE did not validate its subsidy justification model. CARE also submitted the convenient collection study, which validates data reported by CARE that flooring professionals, including installers and retailers, generate the majority of post-consumer carpet collected through the program. However, CARE's proposed goals did not address how the program will provide convenience for flooring professionals. Additionally, CARE failed to complete audits of collector sorters as required. CalRecycle solicited comments from stakeholders to be submitted no later than September 25th. The department received 4 letters from stakeholders. 2 letters, including one from the advisory committee, provided recommendations regarding the content of CARE's Chapter 0 report and its program in general. For example, the advisory committee recommended that CARE utilize its authority, such as its member in good standing agreement with subsidy recipients, to obtain all relevant financial data necessary for CARE to complete an economic analysis that meets CalRecycle's requirements. 2 letters recommended either disapproval or conditional approval because CARE did not fully implement Chapter 0. While staff considered all public comments, CARE's Chapter 0 report is a review of its approved plan, and therefore the Chapter 0 report was analyzed for compliance and not for approval, conditional approval, or disapproval. After analyzing CARE's Chapter 0 report, staff present the following options for the director's consideration. The first option for the director's consideration would defer a compliance determination regarding CARE's implementation of Chapter 0 of its approved plan. The director would direct staff to work with CARE to establish timelines that CARE must meet to fulfill all the remaining requirements specified in CalRecycle's October 16, 2018 request for approval, and monitor CARE's fulfillment of the remaining requirements as described in this RFA by the agreed upon timelines. If timelines are not agreed to by January 13th, 2020, or CARE does not fulfill any of the requirements within the agreed upon timelines, staff shall refer CARE to the Waste Permitting and Compliance Mitigation Division for enforcement. The second option for the director's consideration is to find that CARE did not comply with Chapter 0 of its approved plan and did not fulfill all the requirements of CalRecycle's October 16th, 2018 request for approval and refer CARE for enforcement. In addition to the department's requirements, Assembly Bill 729 made a number of changes to the product stewardships for carpet law and requires CARE to make additional modifications to its plan that CalRecycle did not anticipate when the October 16, 2018 request for approval was written. As part of any option that the director selects, staff shall be directed to work with CARE to establish timelines by January 13, 2020 for CARE to fulfill requirements of Assembly Bill 729, which includes submitting a contingency plan, setting up a trust fund or escrow account, and establishing and implementing a system of differential assessments. Changes to the plan, which include the contingency plan and system of differential assessments, will require CARE to submit a draft to the advisory committee for review per statute. If CARE does not meet the agreed upon timelines to comply with the requirements of AB 729, staff will refer CARE for enforcement. Following careful analysis of CARE's Chapter 0 report and consideration of the requirements of AB 729, staff recommend that the director select option 1. If the director accepts staff's recommendation to choose option 1, staff will work with CARE to establish timelines to fulfill all of the remaining requirements specified in CalRecycle's October 16, 2018 RFA and the requirements of AB 729. These slides are posted to today's public meeting notice. If you'd like to receive updates from us, follow the link to sign up for the CalRecycle carpet listserv. This concludes our staff presentation, and we will turn it back to Matt. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin and Fareed. So we're opening for comments, and so we've got a microphone, and if you'd like to make a public comment, please raise your hand. Okay, I see one over here.
My name is Joanne Brush. I'm speaking on behalf of the California Product Stewardship Council. Today I'll have comments on both the Chapter 0 report and the annual report. We thank CalRecycle for their assessment of CARE's Chapter 0 report. We agree that CalRecycle's finding that CARE did not demonstrate implementation of Chapter 0 as promised in February 2019, and the requirements were not fulfilled by September 2019. Similar to the findings in October 2018, and one of the main reasons the plan was disapproved in May 2018 is that CARE's models and studies lack transparency and validation, which are required by statute and expected from the stewards of California fee money. We understand that CalRecycle and CARE need time to update the plan with the changes made by AB 729, which will significantly improve the plan. But we hope these timelines are aggressive with a clear plan for enforcement should CARE fail to meet the program requirements again. Simultaneous to the issues of the 2018 to 2024 plan, CARE continues to challenge the fines levied against them by CalRecycle from the 2013 to 2016 non-compliance. And we hope we can get a program that works in California soon. CPSC appreciates the opportunity to comment and will remain engaged as CARE implements the final requirements or potentially face revocation. And regarding the annual report, we do understand that there will not be a determinants of compliance. However, we would like to point out a few findings in the annual report that we find indicative that CARE is not maximizing the recycling potential of carpet sold in California. In 2018, CARE sent 251 million pounds of carpet to the landfill, which is significantly higher than the 49 million recycled. In July 2018, record shows the advisory committee recommended that CARE describe the activities taken to address perfluoroalkyl substances, commonly known as PFAS, and the microfibers in their program. Environmental concerns about PFAS and microfibers can be directly related to the activities performed under the approved plan, as CARE pays incentives to users of carpet in water and environmental applications. Although CARE responded with a rejection to that motion, claiming the topic of PFAS and microfibers lie beyond the purview of the program, and possibly just a coincidence, but just a few weeks later, two of the largest retailers in the United States announced a quick phase out of all carpet containing PFAS. Both Home Depot and Lowe's hope to phase this out by the end of the year. So whether or not that's a coincidence, we do, since this action happened under 2019, under an approved plan, we do hope, we expect to see PFAS and microfibers addressed in the next annual report. So thank you.
All right, good morning. My name is Jordan Wells with the National Stewardship Action Council, or NSAC. NSAC was the sponsor of AB 729, a cleanup bill for this program, which was just signed by Governor Newsom in October and does not go into effect until January. AB 729 improves the existing CARE program by mandating eco-modulated fees visible to the consumers to ensure they know, through price signals, which carpets are designed for the environment. The goal of the eco-modulated fees is to drive green design of carpet, and eco-modulated fees are so effective at doing so that the European Union has mandated all programs use them by 2023. We understand that everyone will have to adjust for this new law, including CARE. We want to thank CalRecycle staff for their hard work on this item. NSAC supports the comments made by my colleague Joanne Brash with the California Product Stewardship Council, an affiliated organization. NSAC will support the CalRecycle director whether he chooses option 1 or 2. However, the director made it clear in the last hearing that there would be no more delays given to CARE for enforcement based on the long history of noncompliance. If the director chooses option 1 and takes staff's direction, we will not support any more delays beyond this, as the state needs this program to work much better than it is now. CARE has a long history of bad behavior, and we think it's shameful that CARE and their members are continuing to fight in the courts the fines already assessed by CalRecycle and instead of taking responsibility for the fact that they failed to meet very reasonable goals. We hope that all the CARE members are on notice that they will be expected to pay these fines. It is sad that CARE is wasting time and money that could be better spent achieving a successful program. Lastly, with all the recent information about the dangers of PFAS that Joanne mentioned, showing up in landfill leachate and even in our own bodies, we are disappointed that CARE has failed to study PFAS, an emerging issue of significant importance for the health and well-being of our society, and its impact on the entire product chain, including the collectors and recyclers. The Department of Toxic Substances Control is having a hearing on the PFAS issue on December 9th, and will be there to push DTSC to quickly study and regulate PFAS. We encourage the industry to lead and ban them from being used in carpet as soon as possible. This is the equivalent to lead to the paint industry, and the carpet industry should be careful to address it quickly or risk more liability. Thank you.
David Bender, Circular Polymers. Circular Polymers supports the continued CARE plan. I think that 2019 demonstrated what CalRecycle, CARE, processors, and collectors can achieve by working together cooperatively. 2020 will see further demand in products from carpet recycling across all polymers and carpet types. This will cause convenient collections to grow exponentially, not because we have to, but it's required just to support the demand that we're currently seeing and the 2019 numbers that I assume have been reported to you on an ongoing basis. CARE has been a partner to Circular Polymers. Their knowledge has been instrumental in making very complex deals a reality, and we want to thank them and thank you for working so closely with us in 2019 and growing the number that we saw up there so significantly.
Ron Greitzer, President, Los Angeles Fiber, Reliance Carpet Cushion. I agree with everything my colleague Dave Bender said. We do support the current plan that CARE has. We do support staff's recommendation to give CARE more years to be the stewards of this organization. We do support Bob Peoples, Dr. Bob Peoples, and his staff, his team, to continue as our stewards. We believe that the growth that we've seen, and it's been incremental growth every single quarter, is due to the current plan in place. We believe it's working. We've built businesses, we've hired employees, we've increased our diversion, all because of this CARE plan right now. So thank you, Director, for your consideration.
All right. I believe there is one more public comment from Dr. Peoples, and I think he brought some slides. All right, welcome.
Okay, thanks. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Director Smith-Line, and to the CalRecycle staff. I appreciate the opportunity, as always, to make some comments, hopefully to put some things into perspective. I'm not going to use my time to address some of the comments made here today. All I will say from a general point of view is that things are not black and white. It's easy to make a suggestion. Sometimes it's hard to implement those things, and implementation takes a lot longer than most people really expect. As you'll recall, at the end of Q2, CARE's recycling rate achieved that all-time high of 18.4% that Fareed shared with you a few minutes ago. Today, I'm delighted to share with you, hot off the press, the Q3 results for 2019. Those results are based on some deep foundational work and successfully developing and building through our grants and through our technical assistance and market development efforts. If you would, Teresa, you've got it up there. Okay, so you can see the number, 19.9%. I think that once again, you'll notice that the recycled output is setting a new quarterly record, and also the recycling rate has set another new program high of the 19.9%. Our recycling rate is up 80% in the past 3.5 years through August of this year, and I fully expect by the end of this year we will be up 100% and at the 24% recycling rate mandated by statute. I note on the graph at which point the grants have been activated, and if you look up until that point in time, the trajectory of that curve has been a steady, pretty much a linear upward trend. But if you look carefully, beginning about the time those grants were released, and that we were authorized to release those grants, the curve is starting to take a more exponential trajectory as opposed to linear trajectory. I don't want folks to expect exponential growth quarter on quarter, because that's really tied to incremental project expansions, which are tied to grants, business decisions, private equity funding, such factors. I also hope that everyone saw the recent Eastman announcement and the role that Circular Polymers played in accomplishing that project. As Mr. Bender stated, that work involved collaborative efforts between Circular Polymers, Eastman Chemical, CARE, and the CalRecycle staff. And I think, as he pointed out, these are the kind of accomplishments we can make when we collaborate and work together. It was exciting to see that project come together, and it came together pretty darn quickly, considering the degree of collaboration that took place in communications. I'd also add that the largest recycler in the state, Los Angeles Fiber Company, has significant growth plans ahead and underway for 2020. At the same time, I want to note to you there have been a number of opportunities that are not reflected in that grant, that chart up there, because these opportunities have not yet come to fruition. I'll note just a couple. The Aquafill Woodland facility is a good example as a result of the power issues with PG&E. That plant could not be energized in a timely fashion, and as a result, there was a loss of significant recycled output in the second half of the year, and especially in Q4. We've had another project in Southern California that's been delayed due to permitting problems or permitting delays, not with the project, but with the city of Vernon and their permitting process. And then I would also note that we have a couple of grant recipients for a variety of reasons, some including equipment challenges, unanticipated delays, have missed their timing marks and their volume commitments, which would have added from several million to tens of million pounds in the second half of this year and certainly in the fourth quarter of this year. Had those projects come to fruition, we would be well over the 24% already at this point in time. Yet, despite all that, the good news is that we're continuing to grow the recycle output, and not only do I reasonably expect that we'll achieve our 24% in Q4, but we are very well positioned for full year outputs to bring significant recycled output and thus increase the recycling rate going into 2020. especially with programs like the Eastman commitment being a full year impact on the recycled output pounds as opposed to just a few months in the last quarter of this year. And of course, we're excited to celebrate with Aquafil the eventual startup of the Woodland plant here in California, which will add another significant increment of capacity. And then finally, we do have another option that's under another project that's tentatively on the books right now that will be another very large increment. Hopefully that will come to fruition in 2020, probably the second half of 2020. My initial forecast for 2020 shows solid performance as expected. CARE looks forward to continuing our work with the recyclers and deliver on all of the expectations required under the California expanded carpet stewardship laws, and also working closely with the CalRecycle staff. I want to reiterate, we're excited about the additional growth expected in 2020. Till this end, I'll reserve that carpet recycling itself is undergoing a transition from an opportunistic handshake business to a supply chain, contract-driven, high-volume business environment. This is being driven by the high volume and global players being engaged, Eastman being the first example of several we expect to have a full year impact in 2020 and beyond, and you've heard some of the names I've mentioned in the past. I think this is good news for all of us. Finally, I would like to conclude my remarks by just saying Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I wish you all safe holidays and a Merry Christmas. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Peoples. So that concludes this this action item. We refer, the decision on the two options to the director.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. Dr. Peoples, I think the staff recommendation makes sense to me. I wanted to give today an opportunity to hear if there's any additional public comment that might be informative of this decision. I'm inclined to sign this. I will sit down with it one more time and take a look at it. With respect to some of the comments that I've heard today, I appreciate the concern that's raised by some of the stakeholders. It's a concern that the department has had. However, to be quite specific with respect to enforcement, when the department has indicated that we were going to pursue enforcement, we have done so, and we have done so aggressively where appropriate. The fact that CARE has chosen to contest the administrative proceedings as well as to pursue their civil options in court, that is their right, that is due process. I'm confident that those proceedings will end positively for the state of California, but it does take time. With respect to pursuing enforcement actions at this time, frankly, there's a lot of things that we have to balance. CARE has shown progress. I mean, this has been the most iterative process I've been through in my life in terms of any public proceeding. I mean, over the last years, there's just been so many iterations of what we've been doing. But the fact of the matter is they have shown progress with respect to this. There are still some significant shortcomings. With respect to Chapter 0, we've made those clear. There's not a risk or liability to the state in deferring enforcement at this time, particularly because there are a number of other items due to 729 that need to be taken on. So we can look at all the progress and all those things together. I'm slightly hopeful that, again, this is a difficult balancing act that we conduct up here, but we care very much about the economic health of the recyclers, because if we lose the economic health of the recyclers, we lose the program. So the fact that the recyclers are still here telling us that they're hopeful that we're moving in that right direction, we take that seriously. But we will be holding CARE accountable to Chapter 0 requirements. And if they're not fulfilled, we will pursue enforcement, and I think they understand that. So I don't have any further comments on that. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on.
All right, designated. You up next?
Yeah, the next item is an information item regarding the e-waste program. Just announcing a public hearing on the regulations concerning designated approved collectors. You'll remember that designated e-waste collectors can be designated to operate on a city's behalf, and it streamlines some of the reporting requirements. And so these are new regulations concerning that relationship between the cities and these designated collectors. CalRecycle has started a formal rulemaking process to enact regulations regarding designated approved collectors of e-waste. And these regulations were originally adopted as emergency regulations in 2017 and re-adopted in 2019. On October 12th of this year, CalRecycle initiated a 45-day written comment period, which closes on November 26th. CalRecycle will then hold a public hearing to receive comments on November 27th from 9:30 to 11:30. And additional information, including rulemaking documents, can be found on the designated approved collector webpage on the CalRecycle website. So thank you. We've already discussed this next information item, which is the CARES 2018 annual report. So I think we already heard that presentation. And so moving on to the next item, we have a workshop scheduled to discuss the draft criteria and program development for the Beverage Container Redemption Pilot Project grant funding for fiscal year 2019 and 2020. The grant funding is for kind of innovative beverage container collection programs. And the workshop to discuss that will be December 3rd from 1:30 to 4:30 in the Sierra hearing room. So for you beverage container folks, that'll be one not to miss. All right, let's see what's next.
I have an item on here as well related to the emergency rulemaking for the processing fee reasonable financial returns. We previously did a workshop on that and discussed the department's proposal to set a 10% reasonable financial return in the regulations rather than using the variable rate from the Dun and Bradstreet as is in the current regulations. It's our intent to have the mailing for that, which initiates the process, go out Monday on the 25th, and then it's a 15-day process, at the end of which we'll have a new RFR emergency reg, which we will then subsequently be adopting as a permanent regulation.
And Adam, what's the timing on that process?
We'll be beginning that shortly after the beginning of the year. And that's that.
Matt, I think you're back up.
No, it's me again.
Oh, it's you.
Sorry. So moving on to item E on the agenda, that's Beverage Container Recycling Program. The next thing up, we're going to have a presentation by Ben Shelton, the acting manager of the enforcement branch and supervisor of the imported materials report. And take it away, Ben.
All right, good morning. The first slide is all of the imported material reports we've received. We've received over 30,000 of them over the close to 6-year time period. So quite a lot. And if you notice, there's been a downtrend. Last year, I discussed 14 possible reasons for this downtrend. The top being efforts such as education and training on importation, investigation efforts, and the National Sword Program. I missed one, however. I think that Oregon raising their redemption rate has likely contributed to a decline in importation. So for this year, I will specifically focus on the efforts of CalRecycle and our partners have made to stop illegal importation. And I wanted to specifically thank the efforts the Recycling Program Enforcement Branch, the California Department of Food and Agriculture, and the Department of Justice have made to help with illegal importation. And hopefully you will agree with me by the end of this presentation that they all deserve thanks. So for 2018 and 2019, the imported material reports have leveled off between 200 to 300 a month. And for the 6-year time period, 37 states and 2 countries have listed as imported into California. It's actually easier to tell you what states haven't imported into California. And Nevada and Arizona top the list as the biggest importers, and over half import their material loose. Uh, 7 positions were permanently funded for the imported materials unit in late 2017, and for the past 2 years, we've recommended terminations of certifications and denial of certification applications for 40 recycling centers and processors. We estimate the savings to be approximately $27.9 million. So out of these 40 sites recommended for termination by IMU, they're mostly in Southern California. It kind of makes sense because they're near Arizona, Nevada, and the Mexican border. So from 2013 to 2018, recycling beverage containers claimed volume has dropped by nearly half in Imperial County since the implementation of the imported materials regulations. There have been numerous arrests made by DOJ and numerous terminations for RCs and PRs in this county. I specifically highlighted Imperial County because likely all of the volume drop has come due to the investigation efforts by CalRecycle and our partners with DOJ. And in the first 9 months of 2019, volume has again dropped by another 24%. I just wanted to mention this. It's a hearing upcoming in early 2020. Recycling Service Alliance's accusation in August 2018 was over $500 million. And that is related to imported materials as well. So for this year, the Enforcement Branch and the Department of Justice visited California Department of Food and Agriculture stations in order to answer questions and provide training to staff. For the DOJ side, the arrests in 2018 tripled in comparison to 2017, and even more arrests have been made thus far in 2019 in comparison to 2018. Again, before I go to questions and comments, I wanted to thank the partners to the Recycling Program Enforcement Branch for their work. They've all done a fantastic job. My personal goal is to try to make it a little easier for the legitimate recycling center to stay in business. And I believe that we are definitely on the right track.
Are there any questions, comments?
Thank you, Leonard Lang. Mr. Shelton, do you have any idea what effect this enforcement action has had on reducing the recycling rate quantification of any sort?
Well, that's why I specifically did Imperial County, because you could see there hasn't been any closures, replanted closures in Imperial County. So it's basically all of our enforcement efforts have reduced the volume in Imperial County. Whereas larger counties like LA, I personally believe that we've made a difference. It's difficult to quantify. We're looking into that. We actually have a new unit coming up called DARE, Data Analysis and Risk Evaluation, that I'm hopeful that will help to contribute to see approximately how much of a difference we're making.
I agree that you are making a difference, and quantifying it would help put to rest some of the accusations out there that the sky is falling and recycling is falling, and it's, I think, due to good work on enforcement, hopefully.
Okay. I just wanted to comment on what Leonard had said earlier on. I worked with Annis, and she was a great person, and so I thank you for commenting on her.
All right, thank you, Ben.
Okay, moving on to grants and loan programs. We have an informational item regarding a recycling market development zone loan in the amount of $2 million that was made to Franklin Construction. Franklin Construction is a engineering contractor and also an aggregate producer based in Chico, California, and the loan is for a recycling facility located in Paradise, California. The funds will be used to purchase equipment for a new asphalt production line capable of using recycled aggregate product, RAP, in the production of hot mix asphalt. And so this is asphalt that's been removed often from debris removal operations that can now be recycled and used in roads instead of newly mined gravel and aggregate. The company has played an important role in the collection and disposal of over 250,000 tons of damaged concrete and asphalt from the Camp Fire, which occurred in late 2018. As a result of the loan, the company anticipates the creation of one additional job and additional diversion of 5,000 tons of concrete and asphalt each year. And I want to thank Adam St. Clair and Jim LaTanner for getting this loan across the finish line. And I like that there's a nice synergy there with our debris removal efforts of CalRecycle and standing up the industry that makes that possible. Okay, so the next information item is awards for our farm and ranch solid waste cleanup and abatement grant program for the fiscal year 2019-2020. You'll recall the purpose of this grant is to clean up illegal dumping on sites that are zoned for agricultural activities. The program's funding is primarily used to pay for recycling and disposal costs, but it's also equipment, personnel, cleanup, and preventative measures like fencing in areas that are often subjected to illegal dumping. Eligible applicants include cities, counties, resource conservation districts, and federally recognized Native American tribes. $1.5 million was available in 2019-2020. These grant awards are for the first 3 cycles offered in this fiscal year. The maximum allowed per applicant is $200,000 per fiscal year with a cap of $50,000 per site. CalRecycle received 4 eligible applications requesting $299,000, and the awards were made to Contra Costa Resource Conservation District, LA County, San Joaquin County, and the Sutter County Resource Conservation District. The approved projects include cleanup of an abandoned farm, a vineyard, a peach orchard, and a community farm that's been the subject of continued illegal dumping. And I want to thank Stephanie Becker, Maria Elena Kennedy, and Jeff Lynn for their work on the farm and ranch cleanup program. I also have one announcement, a correction that's not on the agenda. We posted last month a request for approval of a document for the awards for the used oil payment program. Those award amounts have been revised because the population data that was used to calculate those award amounts was outdated or in error. And so I apologize for that error. Most of the grant award amounts changed very little in the tens of dollars. But the largest change was a $34,000 increase for Orange County. The reason that's so large is because Orange County applies on behalf of almost all the cities within the county, and so it's a very large award overall. And so most applicants won't see a material change in their award amount, but I wanted to let you know that those documents from the October meeting have been updated. So if you're looking for the updated award amounts, it's on the October meeting RFA. And that is all.
All right, I'm next, and I'll ask Paulina Lawrence to come up. Oh, there was a question.
Yeah, sorry about that. Are there questions on either of those info items?
I wasn't sure if touching this during the public comment period, I waited for the grant specifically. I had a comment, Andrew Brennan, by the way, from Filtrex International. I had a comment related to the administration of the grants program overall for CalRecycle. My company originally looked at the organic grant program, and then I ended up kind of expanding, looking at some of the other programs that are administered through CalRecycle. And one of the things that I noticed is, you're looking for very predictable outcomes based on the way a lot of the grants are written and a lot of the criteria that's provided there. When you look at some things that are done at the federal level, one example is they're actually currently bringing in tech entrepreneurs into the cabinet level positions through the Presidential Innovations Fellowship. They've kind of identified this major gap that there are a lot of folks that work in government for a long time as bureaucrats that tend to do things the same way repeatedly. So they're trying to bring in some outside ideas into senior levels of government to try to make some changes. With respect to the grants program, I think it would be a prudent idea for CalRecycle to start considering putting maybe 5 or 10% of the grant funds into a separate pool of money that would basically be extremely high potential ROI projects that do not currently fall inside of any of the bubbles and groupings that you currently have available, that would be assessed on a very large or assessed on a very wide-ranging grading metric. And I know that's challenging for administering grants, and I used to work in the nonprofit world, so I get it. It's hard to do, but industry and entrepreneurial type people tend to come up with very high ROI opportunities, and I think that might help meet some of the overall goals that the agency has if you're able to put some of this money aside for some kind of moonshot, so to speak, projects that are currently, I think you're missing getting that kind of innovative, those innovative ideas out of industry. So.
All right. Well, thank you for that comment. Other comments on grants and loans? Okay, thank you.
All right. So seeing none, I think I'm safe to ask Paulina to come on up, give an overview of solid waste as well as tire permits that we have in front of us.
Good morning, everyone. As mentioned, I'm Paulina Lawrence. I'm the branch chief for the CalRecycle's Permitting and Assistance Branch. I will be providing an overview of solid waste and tire facility items for this month's public meeting. From last month, the department has concurred on October 31st, 2019, CVT Regional Material Recovery Facility and Transfer Station in Orange County. Continuing on to this month's agenda is Calexico Solid Waste Site, which is in Imperial County. They have a revised permit action date for December 16th, 2019. New to the agenda is EDCO Recovery and Transfer Station, which is in the city of San Diego. It is a revised solid waste facilities permit. Action is needed by January 13th, 2020. Preliminary review of the permit package indicates the following proposed changes. Increase to the operating hours from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Indoor waste receiving operations from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Sunday, and then internal waste processing from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. Monday through Sunday. There will be an increase in the total permitted area from 1.61 acres to 2.03 acres. Increase in the transfer building from 29,550 square feet to 60,680 square feet. And they will also be adding a material recovery facility sort lines and an in-vessel digestion facility. They will be also updating the transfer processing facility report. I have a number of waivers that I'd like to also bring to everyone's attention. We have an extended waiver for Recology Hay Road landfill, which is in Solano County. The Solano County of Environmental Health Local Enforcement Agency extended this emergency waiver from October 25th, 2019 to February 25th, 2020 to accept additional disaster debris resulting from the Butte County fires. We also have a newly waiver that has been for Clover Flat Landfill, which is in the county of Napa. The due date for this is March 20th, 2020. This will allow for any disaster debris that are due to the Kincaid fire. And then lastly, the department has received 5 waivers from the County of Sonoma, Department of Health Services, the local enforcement agency there, due to disaster debris for PRS Transload Facility, M&M Services, Healdsburg Transfer Station, Sonoma Central Landfill, and Global materials recovery. And that's all I have for today. Does anyone have any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Paulina. That's all I have.
I believe that is the end of our agenda. So I know we've lost a lot of our stakeholders, but I just want to close by saying thank you for continuing to show up and have input into our process, and thank the staff very much for just the high level of integrity and the work that comes forth in the RFAs. It makes it easy to make our decisions, so appreciate the hard work. Thank you.